Welcome back. We've got something a little bit different today because we're going to take a little look at Firebase Trench Zone. Which is this? This is a Kickstarter from Dark Fantastic Mills, who you will have heard me talk about before. Now, just for clarification, this isn't a sponsored video. They're not paying me to talk about this, but they did make the files for this Kickstarter available to me so I could do some printing. Because frankly, I want some trenches. Now, you might be familiar with a game called Trench Crusade, which raised $3 million or so dollars. Insane, ridiculous. Good luck to them, obviously, that's incredible. You might want some trenches to actually play Trench Crusade in, and right here we have some good options. There's not long left, however. There is not long left. By the time this video comes out, that number will probably say not 54, but maybe 52. Depends how good I am at editing. This is a really cool system, right? So effectively, what this is FDM scenery, which you print at home. So if you have an FDM printer, you can take these files and you can create a full board of glorious trench systems. Now, while this was initially only available in the sci-fi variety, Dark Fantastic Mills has updated it now to include weird war stuff. So you've got the same kind of skeleton, you've still got some of the same elements in terms of like the metalwork, but there are planks, there's stuff to make it a bit closer to like historical as opposed to sci-fi. Now, of course, not fully historical, and some of it does have more of a futuristic slant to it, but the wood sections of this stuff is going to make a huge difference to the overall aesthetic. Now, in terms of what you get in this set, the 40 quid digital bundle gets you literally everything you need to just build an entire table's worth of this terrain. And the pieces that you see here that have a weird war counterpart will also be available once the Kickstarter is done. And something they never skimp on is stretch goals, and there are quite a few already unlocked, and there's still more to come, including, and I really like this, the banked slopes, where you can have a trench in the middle of the table, but you could also set it up so that half of it isn't actually a trench section at all. You can move into it as you go. I really like that. That's a cool idea. There are a few kind of stylistic differences that can be unlocked as well as like breached walls, little things to dot around the battlefield like ammo boxes, bulkhead lights, all that kind of thing. I love that extra detail. There is a very good selection of STLs here and a good selection of like styles for the money. I have to admit, I am really looking forward to the weird war side of things. I feel like that's going to be the stuff that I print the most of. And there's still stuff to go. There are still things to unlock. I have printed a bit of this stuff myself over the last few days, not enough to fill a full table, unfortunately, but let's take a look at it and see how it measures up. Okay, so this is what I have printed for Firebase Trench Zone so far. It's not as much as I really wanted to have printed, but my CR10 SE had a blockage and it wasn't great. It was printing either one of these or one of these, I forget which, and for whatever reason it just didn't stick to the bed. And normally it's really reliable, so I don't know what the cause was, but it was a mess. It was a horrible mess that I've had to clean up, and that took valuable printing time away. But you can get an idea as to how the system works just from this, right? So if you think you've got quite a few of these, they go next to there, so you can see this being like duplicated here and here. It's very, very intuitive and simple, even if it looks complicated. Effectively, you have your straight duck boards. Those go alongside these sections or these walls here. Then you've got these duck boards that kind of go around corners and link up. They slot in nice and simple, nice and easy. It's way less complex than you might think. It's a really nicely designed system, as you might expect from Dark Fantastic Mills. I mean, to be fair, I've printed a lot of their stuff now, and it's always easy to put together and nowhere near as complex as it might first look, you know? Storage-wise, if you want to take this apart and store it, or indeed when you want to put it together, super easy. So all of these parts are separate. I mean, even these sections are separate. You can lift them out if you want to. You don't need two of these because they just sit in the top. They are just the decoration for that, so you would glue that in. But for the rest of it, it is a clip system. So you have these clips on the underside, and then you just slide one out of the other like that, and then slide it out of the other like that, and that's it. Super easy to take apart, super easy to store. A lot of the Dark Fantastic Mill stuff, especially if you did anything with the Chaos Citadel, that again was an easy clip together system, and it's sturdy as well. It's actually pretty, you can pick this stuff up. You don't need to worry too much about it just falling apart if you have to pick it up and move it. It tends to be a lot more sturdy than that. I mean, I'm just holding it by one section there, and it is absolutely fine. Maybe a little bit wobbly, but that doesn't really matter. You're probably not going to be moving it around all that much anyway, and once you get the top in, you get a good amount of structural rigidity there. So yeah, again, super easy to put together. If you're doing a full board, then you'd have a couple of walls like this, one on each side, with a bunch of these in the middle, creating those little passageways that you can see just here. If we turn this round, in fact, you can see there we've got the straight duck boards, then we've got these like sectioned duck boards here, and we even have a Space Marine to place within like that. Really fun, really cool kind of claustrophobic sort of spaces to fight in. And when you think that this like central section, there's a bunch of them creating like a warren of different passageways, and you can have some passageways blocked off, some of them actually go around in a big circle, you can get some really fun board layouts by the look of things. As you can see here, I've also done a little test scheme on one of the parts, which I'm actually super happy with. I think I'm going to end up going with that scheme for the rest of it, and when I eventually print a full table's worth, it should be super quick to knock them out in terms of painting. Not complex, not difficult, but this is how I did it. This is a very quick test scheme I knocked up where it's just a black base coat, then a dark metallic dry brush and stipple, followed by a lighter metallic dry brush and stipple, and then, you've guessed it, an even lighter metallic dry brush and stipple. I find this method tends to work really well for just batch painting scenery. If you've got a whole bunch of stuff that you need to get to a decent table, or at least a tabletop standard, then this kind of thing on masses of metalwork. You can do a similar thing with stone as well by just using, more like matte natural colours. Doing some of that and then just adding a little bit of colour here and there with a little bit of Huldra blue on this, one of my favourite colours. It's slightly kind of translucent, I think is the term. So it just lets through some of that shine from the metallic paint underneath, which just lifts it a little bit, gives a bit of contrast down the bottom, then using some streaking grime at the top, or more accurately streaking rust in this case, just to have a nice gradient from a kind of rusty worn orange down to that kind of blue layer at the bottom, then using some dirty down rust just to give it a bit more weathering, just make it a bit more interesting here and there, and finally, I just wanted a bit of blood on there. I've never been very good at blood splatters, but I feel like when you're just moving around the place, when you've got some models in front of it, it does the job. It looks like a place that's seen a bit of violence, seen a bit of wear and tear. Overall, I think this has come out okay. So there you go. That's Firebase Trench Zone. There's about 50 or so hours left on the Kickstarter, so do use the link in the description to check it out if you want to take a look. If you immediately have a bunch of plans and ideas as to what you might use it for, let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to, and I will see you for the next one.